The Madman!
This is the game of Twilight Struggle. It's a one-on-one chess match with cards for dominion over the world during the Cold War. Start by bidding for which side you want to be. It is generally accepted that the USSR is slightly stronger, so I'm going to put in a bit of 1 influence on it. tok3n here has bid 2 on that side, so that means I get 2 extra influence to start off, and I'm the US. The way the game works is you place your troops in these multitudes of countries. You fight for control over regions, and first one to 20 points wins. Now, it's a tug of war, so you can go 20 points for the US or 20 points on the USSR, which means every point you gain loses your opponent 1 point. At the beginning, there's a setup of where to place your influence. Once you place enough influence to match the top right, you have control over that country. I'm going to take control of a bit of these 2 battlegrounds. This is a very common opening, and I'm gonna, let's see, do I want to place in Greece or Turkey? I will look at my cards a bit. I have a lot of Soviet events in my hand. No US events. Yeah, let's go Turkey. It's connected to more things than Greece. And then I get an extra 2 influence because of the bidding. I'll place an extra 1 in Iran, which is pretty common. And I've never played with the I've never actually gotten 2 influence yet, even though this is a fair bid. Iran's pretty important. I'm just gonna place 2 extra in Iran. Make it harder to throw a coup in there. Alright, so at the beginning of each round, you draw up to at the beginning, well I guess let me explain this one step at a time. There are a total of 10 rounds in the game. The first 3 rounds are the early war, where there are 6 action rounds. 10 turns in the game, rather. And then each of the 3 first turns have 6 rounds apiece. You start off by headlining card, and then you play 6 of your actions cards. And then you keep 1 action into the next round. So we're currently choosing which card to start with. Now, what I noticed is I don't have any US events here, which is what you typically want to headline. So I guess we will simply place a neutral up here, capture Nazi scientists in order to advance the player's space race. There's another option though. I can attempt to just play this Europe scoring card, and then score Europe right now, before either of us get more of an advantage here. And I'm gonna do that. Just to kind of throw that away. So you can tell which events are your color, because the red ones on the bottom there are the opponents, are the USSRs, and the white ones are mine. I have none. Whenever you play a card which has the opponents, then the event happens. See, that one's mine. He's using a 4, and he's coupping Iran. Due to my extra placement there, he was not quite able to finish Iran off. A coup is when you try to take over a country that the opponent owns. You use the number here, 4, and then that's 4 strength on your coup. You roll a dice, 1 to 6. You add that to your number. He rolled a 2, so the number was 6. And then you subtract 2 times the top right number, the stability rating. So he rolled a 2 difference, which means that my 3 became a 1. Okay. So since I still control Iran here, let me begin by starting to play a few events that are like kind of bad for me, but this is the lovely thing about the game. Whenever you play an event, like bad stuff happens to you as well. When I play the Suez Crisis, The opponent's going to remove a total of 4 US influence from France, the United Kingdom, and Israel. However, right now this event hurts me the least, so you have to do a lot of management in terms of which event do you play that hurts you the least. When I lose this influence, I'm going to lose my connection to Lebanon, Egypt, and Jordan. But what I can do is, before I lose that connection, I can place some influence in the surrounding Lebanon and Jordan area, so I'm still connected to these general locations. And then Afghanistan as well, so that I can be connected after Iran is lost. He is going to remove my Israel, and then he's going to remove 2 from the UK. However, he doesn't get the full value of 4 US influence here. And also, this allows me to then play Arab-Israeli war for the ops. So the top left is always how many points you get for operations. This one is a coalition invades Israel. USSR gains 2 VP and replaces all US influence in Israel with USSR influence. However, if I don't have any influence in Israel, then I can play this with basically no downside. Opponent is playing duck and cover for Coup. I'll roll the 2 again, which isn't quite good enough to recover much of his influence, but he's also decreasing Defcon again. At 2, you can no longer perform coups in areas, in battleground areas, since each battleground area reduces the Defcon by 1. When it reaches the bottom, nuclear war is started, and whoever caused nuclear war, on whatever turn the rating is reduced to nuclear war, they lose the game. So therefore, no one can coup any battleground states right now, which means Iran is safe to claim, as is Pakistan. I'm thinking about playing de-Stalinization right now, because it's the moment in time where it's the least harmful. But I think that's still bad. So I'm just going to take Iran and take my win. So we can claim Iran, which is nice. So what are we fighting over? We're fighting over control over these countries. Wow, he actually successfully invaded Israel, but there was nothing in there, so he didn't get any benefit. Though he did get 2 victory points. So right now, the score is 1 victory point on the US side. He just got 2 VP, which means it reduced it from 3 to 1. By controlling these countries, you play these scoring cards, like Europe's scoring, which, depending on how well you're doing in the region, will score you points. Alright, so he's playing Eastern European Unrest, remove 1 USSR from 3 countries in Eastern Europe. Let me get rid of this one so he has no connection to Greece. And then we'll get rid of these battleground state ones. Battleground countries. So right now I have a really big lead on the Middle East. If it were to be scored, I would gain 6 points. Whenever you're putting influence into a country someone else owns, it costs you 2 operation points instead of the 1. So that was pretty costly. But it looks like he does not want me to take Afghanistan. Which means I'm going to commit quite a lot to taking Afghanistan. I'm actually going to take Pakistan, since that's really important also. If I had a 3 that wasn't devastating, like de-Stalinization, I would probably play it here. But given that I don't, I'm just going to play my 4 here. So I'll take Iran again. By taking a country, you have to have the top right, but if they have it, it's like yours minus theirs. I'm also going to take Pakistan. And then I have one more. I will... Since I have this kind of locked up now, we don't have to fear them going from the left side. And the right side is pretty hard for them to come by. So we've kind of negated the USSR on that front. So I'm doing pretty well at the moment. Let me take Malaysia to start heading towards Thailand, I guess. Or we can try to get a bigger lead in the Middle East. Since right now my lead is just 1 battleground and 1 non-battleground. I have a pretty big lead on Asia right now. I'm gonna try to take South Korea. Oh, but there's the Korean War. Okay, I want the Korean War to happen first, and then we can. So let's start by coming into Iraq a bit. Put a little bit of pressure here. So to recap, this number here is how many operation points you can take. You can use operation points to do one of three things. 1, place influence. 1 point per 1 influence you place. 2, you can perform a coup. A coup is performed by targeting any country and then rolling a die, adding your number of operations to the die roll, and then subtracting it by the top right times 2 to decide who does that. Yes, you can play PvE as a single player mode. 3, you can do something called realignment, which I'm not going to go into right now. The goal is to control enough countries to do well in a region so that when the region scoring cards come up, you score more points than them. First to 20 points wins. And the point system is, again, it looks like a tug of war where you can be 20 US or you can be 20 USSR. So every point the USSR gains is 1 point I lose. And vice versa. So right now, we're just kind of jockeying for position on controlling the regions of the Middle East and Southeast Asia, since Europe has already been scored. Next card I play is probably going to be the Korean War. North Korea. Every time again that you play the influence, you use the operation points on the top left. If it's the opponent's card, the event occurs. So you try to minimize the effect of the event. North Korea invades South Korea. Subtract 1 for every US controlled country adjacent to South Korea. So maybe what I want to consider doing is taking Taiwan first. Oh, the opponent has decided to at great expense, go into Pakistan using the China card. The China card is passed from player to player. Begins with the USSR, it's worth 4. It does better when you use all of your stuff in Asia. So, I'm going to... It's pretty much impossible for me to actually take control of Taiwan since he put so much pressure on Pakistan. So, I'm going to retake Pakistan, and we'll hope that he doesn't win the Korean War here. Okay, he failed, thankfully, because I had Japan adjacent. So he wins on a 4-6, but because I had Japan adjacent, he ended up losing. The reason I got like 4 in Japan is because earlier he played the US-Japan Mutual Pact, in which I gained influence in Japan for control. So order and tactics matter a lot here. So I have to play 2 more events here. I'm gonna hold de-Stalinization and try not to give him this card, because this card is really devastating. So we're just gonna play out these 2 cards. If the opponent goes into India, then I'll play Indo-Pakistani War. And then quite possibly reckon with it. This card works same way as the Korean War. India or Pakistan invades the other. So if you were to try to go into India, which would kind of make sense right now since that's the only way to get into India, to get into this region, I'll just try to do the Indian-Pakistani War. If he doesn't try to go into it, then I'll try to just take India. So he just played a US event, which means he had to discard a card alongside it, and he discarded a 1. That's pretty good for him. So he's taking influence. Will he put it all in India? You will. So I'm going to play Indo-Pakistani War and hope I get lucky. If I win the roll of 4-6, then I take control of that. I also add 2 military ops to me, which is good because right now I'm at 0 military operations. This is the Cold War, so you have a certain required number of military operations. It's equal to the Defcon status, otherwise you lose points for that. So this gains me 2 points. This is a really efficient use of this card. So we're going to try to invade India. I have a 50-50, and I succeeded. So that is a devastating blow. I now have control of India. If the opponent has the Asia scoring card, this is especially bad for him right now. He has to play it because you cannot hold it. So I just gained 6 points on his card. We are leading 9 US right now to... This could be fast. So the only scoring card left is the Middle East card. Whoops, I didn't want that. I want the operation points. We're gonna keep putting more pressure on Iraq here. So none of us lost any victory points for military operations, and that's turn 1. Now it's turn 2. So far the USSR is not doing too well. Oof, says tok3n.
They reach their full growth when the hope of a people for a better life has died.
We might be able to blow them out in this round. I've got some really powerful cards with this draw. They're like the high number cards. Let's go ahead and do the red Scare Purge, which means that all operations played by the opponent are at -1. That makes it very tough for him to accomplish anything. So a minimum of 1. He played the Colonization, which is one of the USSR's best events. You do go through the entire event pile, so knowing all the events is very helpful. So he's adding 1 USSR influence in each of any 4 African and or Southeast Asian countries. This is a way that'll allow him get into Asia and let him get a head start on Africa. The USSR always goes first, so that's an advantage for them. They can always use the first Defcon status to perform a coup, whereas the US cannot do that because usually the USSR spends turn 1 doing a coup. So that's how a turn goes. Start of a turn, you draw up to the number of events plus the headline plus 1 card. So you draw up to 8 cards. In this case, in the early war, since there are 6 action rounds. In the mid war, it becomes 7 action rounds, and then you add more cards. Okay, so the opponent took a few in Africa. He's starting with a coup in Lebanon and failed by rolling a 1. Also, you only reduce Defcon by hitting a battleground country. So since he did not reduce Defcon, I can actually perform a coup. And I'm going to take that opportunity. I'm going to play this De Gaulle leads France card, which is the reason why I have not put anything into France yet. Because this removes USSR influence in France. So I'm going to go ahead and use this card to perform a coup on a battleground red. But I don't actually need to put that much of an effort. I could just use a 1 and that would be enough. So I'm going to use the blockade, which unless US player immediately discards 3 or more value operations card, eliminate all US influence in West Germany. That's the opponent's event, but I can discard the Destalinization, which is a card I want to discard anyways. So we're going to perform a coup on Africa here. With the 1, because this is a very low stability region. It doesn't require that high a card to perform a coup there. So I switched over his 1 influence to my 2 influence. With just a 1 card. And I'll discard Destalinization. In the early war, only Europe, Asia, and Middle East have scoring cards. So right now, the only region we really should be focusing on is the Middle East. But since I had a coup opportunity, I was going to take it there. You shouldn't be surprised I'd like a game like this, since I love board games. And this is originally a board game. Usually the USSR leads in the early game, which means the fact that I'm 10 points ahead right now, and it's looking good for me in the Middle East, is a near certain US victory. Also, he's currently under the effects of Red Scare / Purge, so all of his operations are at -1 to a minimum of 1 operation point. So it's tough for him to reclaim the Middle East this round around. So I'm going to fight pretty hard to take Iraq. The ones in the red are the battleground countries. So while he's taking his turn to decide, I can explain how scoring works. So the Middle East scoring is guaranteed to be in the early war cards. Alright. He's taking a few over in Asia. Since the North Korea-South Korea war has already occurred, I can actually just go ahead and take the South Korea. Which would put me at 1, 2, 3, 4 battleground countries to his 2. But I'm not going to bother with that yet. It doesn't seem to be a priority. The priority is the Middle East. Since this is the only card scoring that has not occurred yet, it's guaranteed to be in the early war cards. Between the two of us, we hold all the early game cards other than 5 draw cards. So if we don't have it right now, it's going to come up in the next deal. So this is a really consistent game. So I'm going to take Iraq by playing 2 influence in there. And I'll go ahead and do De Gaulle leads France as part of it. And then I'm also going to take France while I'm at it. So we'll split our influence. Oh, but also you can choose to have your opponent do his stuff first. So we're going to resolve the influence first, which is remove 2 US influence in France, add 1 USSR influence. And then I can put my influence into France finally. Because now that danger is out of the way. But first I'm going to take Iraq, since this is a very important country. So the way that domination is scored is basically you want to have more of the battleground countries than your opponent does. Europe, there are 5 battleground countries: Poland, East Germany, West Germany, France, and Italy. So these 2 are usually the USSRs pretty securely. These 2 are usually the USs pretty securely. And this one can be fought over a bit. And this one can be fought over a bit. Like, they can all be fought over. But the point is, by fighting over them, you get the domination points when you score this, which are worth a lot. Also, each battleground is worth +1 point. So control the battlegrounds, get the domination, get the points, win the game. We might do a very quick victory here. Now, the reason not to use UN intervention with De Gaulle leads France, play this card simultaneously with the card conveying your opponent's associated event. The event is cancelled. The cancelled card returns to the discard pile. This is a big thing. A lot of the cards have an asterisk over them, and also say, remove from play if used as an event. So that's out of the deck. Otherwise, they get reshuffled during the next draw. So I'll only want to use the US intervention card when I'm doing it in concert with a event that doesn't get shuffled, ideally. So there's a lot of like shuffle management, I suppose. I'm gonna try to take control of Saudi Arabia as well. France is also really important though. So you can either play a card for points or for the event, your choice. A lot of these US events I like playing for points instead of the actual event. Right now I'm looking to put more in France to take it over. I also want Saudi Arabia. But since the opponent is under Red Scare Purge, I don't have to worry about them moving that fast. So we can actually spread out our influence is the point. I'll put one over there, I'll put one over here. I'm gonna try to take Israel while I'm at it. So I'll put one over here. And they're like building towards a lot of different things. And also you can only build adjacent to where you have influence already. So I'm going to go towards Angola here. Start plotting to take Africa a bit. So I can move towards Zaire next. And of course, all of the events are real historical events that happened during the Cold War. Alright, so by placing 2 there, he has tied up the battleground countries 2-2. But now I can take Saudi Arabia. I'll put 2 in there. I'm actually going to use a 4 this turn because I want to both put 2 here as well as 1 here since he's adjacent to it. And I want to put 1 here to start taking a look at Venezuela. I'm probably going to end up actually playing UN intervention for just 1 point. No, that's a very big waste. I will actually play the China card then and pass it back to him. He's performing a coup on Colombia and has managed to just roll low enough to not put any influence in there. So I'll go ahead and play the China card. This card gives you a bonus if you use all of the operations points in Asia. So I'm going to use all my operations points in Asia. And this will make it worth a 5. This got rid of Formosan. Taiwan is no longer considered a battleground, but oh well. So I'll put 2 there, I'll put 2 here, and 1 in South Korea. So this makes it so that he's unable to like use this middle stuff in order to spread out to the left or to the right, to the bottom. So we've got like a lock on Middle East and Asia right now, and we're doing well in Africa. And Europe is even ahead. So really the opponent has like no chance. I was okay with putting influence in Colombia because he's under the red Scare/Purge right now. Which means if he coups here, I can just coup back. And that was my plan. So you can kind of look at which cards have already been removed. So this is why a lot of these cards, like, I mean, they're bad, but they only happen once. And these are all the cards that have been discarded and will be reshuffled very soon. So soon Asia scoring and Europe scoring will be back. Truman Doctrine, remove all USSR influence markers in a country in Europe. Let's get rid of this one in France. That takes away a lot of connections for him. And then final round, I'll go ahead and play this containment card. So because he played that card, we know that neither of us had Middle East scoring this round. But Middle East scoring is going to come up next round. And we're going to get a lot of points off of that. So I'm just going to take control of Israel, I think. Now, because he has the first move, it is really common for them to perform a coup on Iran. And then in that case, it could be 3-3. So the USSR has a natural advantage in taking the Middle East. Yeah, this seems like a really critical spot, so I will... Oh, but also, we can look ahead to the next turn. Next round, the Europe scoring could get shuffled in, so I'm going to put 1 in France, which will put me at 3 battleground against his 2 battleground. I'll go ahead and take Turkey as well. That puts me at domination in Europe. I already have domination in Asia. And I'll go ahead and put one in Colombia again, so I can start making a reach towards Venezuela. Since the opponent played some actual military ops and I only got one somehow? Oh right, I did a coup with a 1 card. I lost 1 point there.
So my country's purpose is to help us move out of the dark chamber of horrors into the light. To find a way.
Okay, so since I didn't get Middle East scoring, I know that Middle East scoring is in the opponent's hand.
Toward peace and happiness and well-being.
UN intervention is a really good one to put in with de-Stalinization. Let's see. So, my events. I have only one US event. I mean, there's NATO, that's like worth too many points. I put in East European Unrest, remove 1 USSR influence from 3 countries in Eastern Europe, which is basically my only realistic option given the rest are all USSR events. So the opponent has redlined Red Scare Purge, which means all my ops are 1 fewer this time around. But I've just made the opponent lose control of these battleground countries, which means I can move into them if the opponent does not react to them immediately. In Europe, if you have control of Europe, you actually just win automatically. Control means you own every single battleground country. So Europe is always like fought over to some extent. So he's got a tough choice. Does he want to show up East Germany and not use his coup? Because if he doesn't use the coup, I'm going to be using the coup. But if he uses the coup, I'm going to go into East Germany. However, I am under the Red Scare Purge, so it is difficult for me to actually move that fast here. Boom. So, that's kind of Twilight Struggle in a nutshell. A lot of problem areas you can fight wherever you want, but there's usually a better place to fight. And it's like a lot of order in terms of what you want to do. And say, starting with a coup in Lebanon. Due to him not taking a battleground country, he has handed me the ability to coup a battleground country. As probably a misplay on his side. We're going to perform a coup on Libya. I'll use my big card here, since this is like a very, very important one. So here's the result previews of what will happen on each roll. On a 1-0, 2, he loses 1, 3, he loses 2, 4, he loses 2, I gain 1, 5, he loses 2, I gain 2, 6, he loses 2, I lose, gain 3. Then he got a 1, never lucky. That was a very unfortunate coup to lose, to roll 1 on. This means that the opponent is actually going to get away with normal just presence here. We'll be tied up, well not tied, I have 3 battleground countries, he has 2. And it's also going to be pretty strongly in my interest to perform a coup on Cameroon here, to wipe out all of the influence he has in this area. Okay, so the opponent shored up East Germany and Poland. What else did he do? +1 Iran. Oh, so he keeps trying to go into my countries, but this turns out to generally be a bad move because it costs 2 operation points to go into a country that the opponent has. Whereas it's just 1 by default. So all my cards are only worth, well this is only worth 1 right now, but I'm going to play Vietnam Revolts because, oh no, I should play that near last. So I'm just going to play this 1 card. Place 1 influence here in Iran, take the country again. There's actually a decent reason to play maybe the 3 here instead, to put 2 out, because I should actually move out of Colombia into Venezuela. There are like a few things that are really critical right now. First order of business is making sure that I hold on to Iraq, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. Which is easy enough because even though I'm under the red Scare Purge, where all my operation points cost 1 fewer, the opponent has to pay 1 extra operation point to place the first influence on any of these countries. Second order of business is probably using this Colombia connection to go into Venezuela, because Venezuela cannot be Coup, as it is a battleground country. So he's using the Middle East scoring right now, so giving up a lot of tempo. So now I can do whatever I want. I am going to go ahead and play this Comic-Con, which will give him 1 USSR influence in each of 4 non-controlled places in Eastern Europe. We'll let him do it first. I'm playing UN intervention with de-Stalinization. Since the deck... Yeah. So I want to put 1 in Venezuela, and I have 1 more here. What do I want to put the other thing in? Or we could perform a coup on Cameroon. Nah, there's no rush to do that. That can be done whenever. And it's important to like have priorities here. Put 1 in Venezuela, and what else is even remotely critical here? So I have control of, oh, South Korea is really important. Let me put 1 over there. This was actually arguably more important than Venezuela as well. They're both important. But I'll put 2 in Greece. Maybe the opponent holds the Europe scoring card? But Greece is just a good country to take anyways. I almost forgot that. I left that behind for a long time because he couldn't get to it, but he put in Yugoslavia, which puts in adjacent to Greece. Anyways, I really, really want to take South Korea, so we'll use this 1-point card to take it here. Wow, socialist governments is pretty tough too. Anyways. Got a lot of the tougher events this time around. I can only deny him 1 of these, so I'm not going to be able to deny him out of socialist governments. No, it's actually going to lead to a pretty sticky situation for me. I should probably play socialist governments first then. Okay, so you just evened up the scoring here. Wow, maybe I have to play de-Stalinization. Yeah, socialist governments is way too bad for me. He's fighting pretty hard for Europe. So that must mean he has the Europe scoring card. So I have to UN intervention socialist governments. Oh, but by de-Stalinization, like he can put the things over in Spain, Portugal. So I need to take Portugal first. So we need to UN intervention the socialist governments, and we're going to have to give them de-Stalinization. Oh, I could also just space de-Stalinization, of course. Yeah, that's the last thing about this. You can also toss cards that you don't want to activate into the space race, so you can put 2 ops or higher. Since I'm under the red Scare Purge, This is a 2 right now, which can be put in 2 or higher. Okay, so you have the Europe scoring card. You realize that he wasn't going to take control over Europe, and that's why Turkey and Spain, Portugal are so good. You get control of these for just 2. So I have the option to either play Destalinization, let him move his stuff, or just put it in a Space Race. Let's just Space Race this card. I did not manage to put an Earth satellite out, but the main point of the Space Race is to get rid of cards. Okay, everything worked pretty well. We are 15 points out of 20. Mid-war cards have just been added. I have a lead in basically every region right now. I have a head start in getting to South America, Central America, and Africa. Europe and Middle East have been scored, so only the Asia scoring is out. But also in the mid-war, now there's also the Southeast Asia scoring card, the Africa scoring card, the Central America scoring card, and the South America scoring card. Wow, I got a lot of US events this time around. Containment adds 1 to every operations card played by the US. It's a pretty good one. Especially if I don't plan on playing many of these for the event value, which is the case here. Let's go ahead and headline Containment. I didn't get any of the scoring cards, so I don't know which regions are necessarily going to get scored this time around. But we'll keep an eye on what he does. So he's saw my entire hand. Everything is +1, which is really good because I don't have any 4s. So they all got max value. So you basically have a 3, 4, 4, 2, 4, 4, 3, and 4. This Junta card is really good as an event, though. He also knows I have the Bear Trap, very nefarious, which basically skips the opponent's turn unless he discards a card worth 2 and rolls a 1 to 4. So you can get unlucky and like keep getting stuck in the Bear Trap. But since all my cards are worth +1 right now, I'm probably playing all of these for the point value. Every single one of these. I have to play a total of 7 more cards, so I'm probably going to be playing 1, 2, 3. Let's see, the opponent failed to do a coup with the 1 on the 1. Never lucky, rolling a few 1s. I'm going to go ahead and perform a coup on Cameroon, which will knock him out of Africa. I'll use a 1 on it, since it's only a 2. I could also use this for the event to gain 2 VP, but the point value is probably worth more now for board control. Wow, got a 6. Beautiful. So we just knocked the USSR out of Africa. He's doing a coup on Colombia. But this is okay. I'm happy with just trading here. Oh, actually I have the junta. Perfect time. Place 2 influence in any one Central or South American country. Then you make a free coup attempt or realignment roll in one of these regions. So, let me go ahead and play in Argentina. While also couing Colombia at 3 value, thanks to containment. Wow, rolled the 6 again. Big rolls. Well, looks like this is going to be a pretty quick game. So right now, if the South America scoring is played, I will gain 6 points. If Africa scoring is played, I will gain 7 points. If Asia scoring is played, I'll gain 6 points. Speaking of Asia scoring, I should consider taking control of Afghanistan because I get +1 per country controlled to the adjacent enemy superpower of the USSR. So the Afghanistan place is worth a little bit more too. It's pronounced junta apparently, did not know that. So really tough for the USSR to get into South America and Central America. There are certain cards that let them do that, but I have made sure to neutralize the way for him to move into South America. He might not have the cards for it yet. So yeah, really tough position. He's losing every single battleground. Except the Middle East, in which he's slightly behind. Actually, he's losing that one too. He's only ahead in Southeast Asia, which is only a one-time scoring card. He's desperately trying to go into South Korea, but it's really hard to get into places that the opponent already has because it's so expensive to put the first one in there. I'm gonna go ahead and put 2 of my influence in there, and I still have 1 more. I'll use the extra one to take 1 in Central America in case he has that card, I guess. He's like completely contained at this point. It's over. It was over like 2 rounds ago, to be honest. But against a closer opponent, this game can go all the way into 10 rounds in. But definitely a pretty high skill game. With a decent amount of RNG too.
Our goal is not the victory of might, but the vindication of right. Not peace at the expense of freedom.
Should I just like hard take control of South America? Maybe we can go for control. Control's only worth 1 more. Central America control, but there's Cuba. Cuba's pretty tart. I should go for Africa control. That's pretty vicious. It's like, he has just no way to connect in there. We're very close to taking control over Africa already. I just have to put 2 in Algeria and 2 in South Africa. Let's see, Warsaw Pact, add USSR influence in Eastern Europe. Sure. Like, this is so terrible that he has no presence in these places. Alright, so go ahead and take total control over Africa. So now if Africa is scored, I will gain 11 points. And eventually the Africa card will come up, and then I will win. So this is now an Africa scoring waiting room. I can also put a few points in these Southeast Asia countries, like 1 here and 1 here, and when the Southeast Asia scoring comes up, I will not lose 2 points, and instead it will be an even wash. Maybe that was a higher priority than taking Africa right now, in fact. No, it's fine either way because the opponent has no way to access these countries. So I can wait on it however long I want. Trying to go into my Africa territory, huh? Well, that is only worth 1 point, so I guess it's not a rush to queue it, but I might as well. Keep him out of Africa completely. That is throwing a 4 card at it, though. Nah, I'm pretty sure I can do something better with this card. Never mind. So let's take a bit more in the US of A. Cuba is a really dangerous place to put it in due to knowledge of the card. Let's take Brazil also, I suppose. We're just running roughshod everywhere. I need to put 1 point into a neutral country in Central America in order to get the domination bonus. Since you have to own a non-battleground in addition to battlegrounds for domination. So the next influence I place here will probably be something like 1 here, maybe 3 here. Oh no, I still want to do this, so 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and then 1 here, I guess. I think the Fidel card is still in his hand. That's an early war card, which puts out influence into Cuba on the USSR side. Since it has not been played yet and it's not in my hand, it's therefore in his hand. That card... He's using the realignment. He's targeting Algeria. I'm at +2. Realignment is you attack a country and you see if you can basically negate, you can eliminate some of the influence there. However, you get a bonus based on adjacent countries. So he's really desperate. It looks like when Africa is scored, he's going to lose the game, maybe as the Africa scoring card. So I expect the game to be over next round. Let's go and play this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I forgot I need to put 1 in Guatemala. Okay, so his last card is Duck and Cover, which degrades Defcon 1 level. This is my event, so he will be forced to degrade Defcon if that happens. Interestingly enough, I have... this would normally cause him to have created nuclear war because I can use this point to coup a battleground country. However, I don't think he owns any that are outside, that are actually a battleground. Therefore, I cannot do nuclear war. But I will go ahead and take Sudan over with this. I think this is the only place that can be Coud right now, as Southeast Asia, Middle East, and Europe cannot be Coud at certain levels of Defcon. So this means he does not have Africa scoring, or South America scoring, or Central America scoring, since you are forced to play those cards. Realign the Sudan. I lost 1. Okay, well, let's play Bear Trap, I guess. Go ahead and shore up our defense here, since he appears to actually be trying to realign. I'll take this one, and then 2 more. We'll put them here. So I have total control over South America and Africa. Just give up. Okay, I have Central America scoring and Africa scoring. Let's go ahead and end him here. I have get 11 points if Africa scoring goes. I think of very few things that can happen to mess this up. And even if that somehow gets meddled with, he can put an event that messes with it. I'll score Central America, and then that'll be over. Oh, he had mine event. Just for the GG, I guess. Shouldn't think too hard about this. I just like, whatever. Woo woo!